Giants, talking a lot about Saquon. Don't break the bank for this guy. Giants shouldn't do it.
Well, what's break the bank in your mind?
Well, we talked about $13 million a year. I think that's kind of breaking it. Since only two guys make that amount.
If you had a real $13 million a year on the table right now, I think the deal would be done. So, the way that teams usually look at this, and agents too, the tag is $10 million and change this year. The second tag next year would be $12 million and change. So you're somewhere at least $11 million if you're going to do a long-term deal. With Saquon, he's the best of the bunch, arguably. Josh Jacobs, again, NFL rushing leader, so I'm taking nothing away from Josh here. But Saquon, high draft pick. He's already made some money. Maybe he feels like he's got more leverage here. Joe Shane's a tough negotiator. Kevin Abrams has been doing it there for a long time. I don't see them getting out over their skis. I don't see them doing anything close to a McCaffrey or Kamara-style contract. I just don't think that that's going to happen here. What they got to figure out is between the base stuff that's guaranteed and the incentives, the upside, where is that path forward here that makes sense for everybody involved? That may well not happen until July 17th, but at least they've had negotiations back and forth.
You think the Giants make the playoffs this year?
I mean, Brian Dable did a hell of a job last year. They're more talented now than they were a year ago. I mean, adding Darren Waller alone, you saw who Daniel Jones was throwing to for a good chunk of last season. They had all the different injuries here. They had one breakout player they claimed off waivers late in the season who had some good games, Isaiah Hodgins. That's how much we don't know about him. I can't remember his name. It's Isaiah Hodgins, I believe. But you had a guy like Darren Waller, another player who kind of like Hodgins. Another guy kind of like DeAndre Hopkins, where Darren Waller hasn't been healthy. Definitely not last year. And he was probably that fit culturally, schematically wasn't the best for him. He's going to go to the Giants, and if he's healthy, they're going to pump him the football. Darren Waller's going to get the ball a lot. Assuming that Saquon is back, there's no reason that they shouldn't be pushing to be a playoff team. They got one of the best defensive coordinators in the league in Wink Martindale. That's another division, though, that's tough. I mean, the Eagles are, until proven otherwise, I mean, look at the Eagles' record going back to like the midpoint of Nick Sirianni's first season. They've been unbelievable since then, and they were that close to winning a Super Bowl. You got the Cowboys, who are still talented. I'm fascinated by what that offense is going to look like with Mike McCarthy taking over. I think that just based on how smart Mike is as a play caller, that they've got a chance to be even better offensively than they were with Kellen Moore, maybe in different ways. I think that they've got a chance to be really good. And then you got the Commanders, who, again, I have no idea what's going to happen on a daily basis. Are they going to unveil a wire statue? Are they going to accidentally leak their own logo? Are they going to put the wrong championship years on the logo? Are they going to...
Are they going to change the name again?
I mean, right? The name could change during the show. It could all of a sudden be guys like taking off that W, the block W, putting on like we'll try out different things here. Washington Hogs, the Commanders,
Red Hawks.
Does Commanders survive? I think it's a great question.
No,
they nailed it with football team, in my opinion.
I love the football team, but I don't know.
Washington football team couldn't be trademarked, and apparently neither can Commanders.
Right,
they're now
that's
fight
what I
about
mean.
that as well. Every step of the way, there's just different types of things. Football-wise, too. Just strange things happening. Eric Bieniemy's there as the offensive coordinator now. I think that's one of the, we haven't talked a lot about that, but to me, that's a really fascinating storyline. He's running the show now. There's going to be no ambiguity about who's running that offense. He's got a fifth-round pick in Sam Howell as his quarterback, but Sam Howell also, going into his senior year, was a potential number one overall pick.
Right.
He's just shorter and didn't have a very good year passing. It was on a horrible North Carolina offense where they had him run literally, I want to say he had like 192 rushes his final year at North Carolina. So, you're thinking, though, he's a young quarterback. How good can he possibly be in year one? Everybody knows their jobs are on the line. Like any other coaching staff, when you've got a new owner coming in, the new owner could wipe everybody out. I think there's so many different levels to that. I know this was not the question we were actually talking about at this point, but the Commanders or the Jets, I would easily take either of those two for vastly different reasons.
183 rushes.
183 rushes. That's 15 a game.
6'1".
That's a lot.
He's really not very tall.
No.
All right, last one,
Baker.
NFL-wise. TJ, I can't help but think about it because my fantasy draft is in like 10 weeks. I'm already thinking fantasy.
10 weeks.
Okay. Right?
I just did
It's a very exact number of weeks. Who says 10 weeks?
It's always the third
week.
week.
It's in a couple of months. Who says 10 weeks?
All right, it's in 2.5 months. What do you want me to say? Come on. Don't be afraid, guys, to take Bijan Robinson top 5. Don't be afraid.
Depends what type of league you're in. But if you're in a keeper league, he might be the number 1 overall pick. It's a gamble. We talked about this before the show. I mean, I was in a league with like limited keepers, 2 per team, where Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the number 1 overall pick. And I think he was the number 1 overall pick in a lot of drafts. That was back in 2020, I think it was. And he went number 1 in all these drafts. And then, we're 3 years later here, and obviously, his option got declined and he's kind of disappeared. Bijan's in a little different category just because of the style of running back he is, because the offense he's going to is the same guy who was coordinating the offense when Derrick Henry was running for 2,000 yards and Arthur Smith. They've got these big dudes. Look at their 3 draft picks there since Terry Fontenot got there. It's been Kyle Pitts, who's an absolute monster. It's Drake London, and it's Bijan Robinson. Ooh, you want to tell me what style of football they want to play? They want to physically dominate people, and Robinson's going to be a big part of that. I mean, he's a special running back who would have gone even higher if he weren't a running back. Quite frankly, he still goes number 8 overall. It would have been awesome if the Lions had done what they considered doing, which was they would have done. If they got stuck at number 6, their plan was to trade back, which they did. But if they got stuck at number 6, they were going to stand in and take Jahmyr Gibbs. And Bijan would not have even been the top running back. That's how much they loved. Jahmyr Gibbs had more fans within the league. Like, the final calls I get every year before the draft are usually coaches who are like kind of catching up on tape, just trying to figure out like what does the league think of these guys. And everybody loved Jahmyr Gibbs. Just difference maker, unbelievable player. There were mock drafts where he wasn't even in the first round. And then by the end of it, I was pretty convinced he was going in the top half of the first round, and the Lions did take him really high in that draft. Lions will be a fascinating team, too. We already got them on Hard Knocks last year.
I think both of those running backs are going to ball out fantasy-wise this year.
Jahmyr Gibbs might be the one. Now, they got David Montgomery there, too, in Detroit. Yeah. So you got to kind of figure out what's the split going to be. But Gibbs is like the home run hitter. Gibbs is the DeAndre Swift. Right. And Swift was unreliable just because he had, a variety of little injuries that kind of added up. Yeah. But then he'd have games where he has no yards at halftime and 200 yards in the second half. And it just was like out of control. Gibbs will be kind of in that same type of mold. And they really like David Montgomery, too.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.